today is Kenneth Jenkins. It is Friday, January 30th. Thank you, Mr. Jenkins, for being with us today and sharing your memories. Where and when were you born?
I was born down below Winfield, between Winfield and Ellersburg, 8727. That's about 7th of August. I'm just a youngster. It was out in the country, in the boonies, so to speak. We didn't have any conveniences. It was that my grandfather and grandmother raised me until I was 13. We didn't have any conveniences. No running water, no electric, no nothing.
Wow.
And it wasn't bad. A lot of other families in the same boat.
Was it like a farm setting? Or,
Basically, it was my grandfather had 40 acres, but he was a carpenter, so he didn't farm it. At one time it had been farmed because there was a tobacco house with tobacco still hanging in it on the property. And they had a woodshed, a corn crib, cow barn, I guess you'd call it, an outhouse. Like I say, no conveniences whatsoever, not even a pump. The water came from a spring.
So did you have to carry it?
Well, I had various duties. I had the spring was down over the hill, probably 30 yards, 40 yards, and that was the spring house also, where they had boarded off water about 10 inches deep, and that was your refrigerator. You could set milk and butter and set anything in there you want that you normally put in a refrigerator today. So I had to carry water. That was one of my duties.
What days like today, did it freeze over? What would you do when it was very cold?
Well, you had to break the ice.
Oh, wow.
But that's the only water we had.
That's something. Did it ever freeze completely?
Yeah, it froze over, but we could always get into it.
Somehow.
Didn't freeze much in the spring house. When the water's running, it doesn't freeze as quick.
I see.
But it did freeze. So I had to carry water. I had to carry wood in. I had to take the cow up. We had one cow. I had to take the cow up to the meadow every day. Buttercup, I remember it very well, was her name.
Huh.
So I'd take her up to the meadow, which was maybe a quarter mile, and go up and get her in the evening. And she used to help me along, nuzzle me, and she kind of liked me.
Did you have to milk her too?
No, I didn't milk her. I let that up to Grandma. And
So you mostly just did you go to school?
I went to Winfield School for 7 years, elementary school.
And then did they have high school back then? Or?
No, then later on I moved up with my mother in Westminster, and I went to Westminster High. But I was a 9th grade dropout.
Oh, were you?
Because it was time I was raring to get into the war.
Oh.
Like most guys were at that time. They were standing in line to get in.
Wow.
So,
What war was that, Dad?
World War II.
World War II. So you left for a while then to be in the war?
Well, a little more to it. I was only 16 when I dropped out. And I wanted to go in the Navy, so I tried to alter my birth certificate, but the ink eradicator that day wasn't very good. So I ruined my birth certificate. And then I found out you could go in the Merchant Marine at 16 legally. In the meantime, though, I was in what was known as the State Guard. You could go to the State Guard at 16. And I don't know when they discontinued the State Guard, but it existed at that time. I would assume that the State Guard was for the state like the National Guard is today for the whole country. So I was in the State Guard for a while, and had an Army uniform and had meetings at the Army. The Army exists today. And
so were you living at home and doing that
Yeah.
on kind of part-time, so to speak?
in the meantime, wondering how I could get in the Navy at 16. Anyway, I found out that the Merchant Marine was taking you at 16. But you had to go to maritime school, which was in New London, Connecticut. No, that was not New London, Connecticut. It was Sheepshead Bay, New York. New London, Connecticut was a submarine school that I almost got later. Anyhow, Sheepshead Bay it was like a Navy boot camp, but it was for Merchant Marine, what they called the maritime service.
So you went on.
So I went that, and then I spent 2 years in the Merchant Marine, last 2 years of the war, and then I got in the Navy. So
How long were you in the Navy?
22 years.
Oh, wow.
So I was away from.
Found your calling.
Yeah, I finally made it. I came home on leaves that different. During the 24 years I was gone, I got home every now and then on leave or whatever.
But you didn't live in Carroll County in that stretch of time?
Well, when I came home, I was in Carroll County. Yes, because that was my home.
So how long was, when you came home, how long were you home usually at a time?
Well, it depended. You could get 30-day leaves, but usually I didn't take 30 days because I got bored.
I see. Wait, so you really got to see the county change? You must have,
Well,
being able to be gone and then come back and be gone and come back, you could really see the growth.
Well, the big change that I seen was as you say, growth. I can remember when I was 7, 8, 9, 10 years old, 13 years old. There was nothing in Carroll County but towns and farmland.
Right.
Manchester, Hampstead, Westminster, Taylorsville, Mount Airy, so forth, and everything else was farmland. And that's amazing to me today, because as you look at it today, what do you got? And well, you had farmland, you had some general stores, a couple general stores, and maybe a wormseed oil distillery and a cannery and stuff like that. But other than that type function, it was all farmland.
Very rural.
It was nice.
Yeah, so seeing it.
And the roads, I travel the roads today, you can see the parts of the roads that existed when I was a kid. If you go to Manchester, you can go off the main road. From Westminster to Manchester, you can go off the main road, and the side roads was the old road. And
They haven't changed much.
same way going to New Windsor, say, you got the old New Windsor Road and you got the new one. Well, the old one was what we used when I was a young'un. And Tawnytown, same way, the old Tawnytown Road. So it was none of the big highways. There were.
Do you find yourself using those roads now more often?
They bring back some memories when I drive by. I mean, I go on them sometimes. Yeah. And one other thing, when I was roaming around my grandfather and grandmother's, most of the 40 acres was woods. I have found some Indian airheads, probably 3 or 4, and I'm sure other people found a few of them. They were around.
So what was their history? Your grandparents, were they original to that farm?
Yeah, they were. I think they were original to it. Yeah, and I used to roam around the woods, and I really enjoyed it. I had a ball. Found a couple caves. On 40 acres of woods, you can find a lot of stuff. And they had a creek running down. I think the name of it was Piney Creek. It was down in a valley. They used to had 2 names, they called it, Gobbler's Hollow and Skunk Hollow. So, and you couldn't drive out if it was muddy or snowing because it was a steep hill. We were right in a valley. You had to park cars way up at the top, yeah. And then there was a general store I used to go to, what they call Dorsey's Crossroads. Some old timers probably had to ring a bell with them. It was about a mile. I used to walk down there, and for a nickel I could get a big soda, and another nickel I could get a big bag of candy, you know.
Jeez. Did you have siblings, or were there friends around, or you kind of
I had some.
wandered on your own?
I was mostly a loner because we were so spread out.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Sounds like a great place to grow up.
it was.
Let's see. Did you have any kind of traditions that you remember as a childhood? As a child.
Well, traditions. I don't know. This would come under the term tradition. When I was 8 or 9 years old, 10 years old or something, I killed a rabbit, went hunting, and I got a rabbit. And for some reason, from that day on, I love animals. I hate to see any of them killed. I'm not a fanatic now like this, what do they call it, PETA or whatever.
Yeah.
But I just love animals. And I don't know whether that killing that rabbit started it or not.
Did you eat the rabbit that you killed?
Yeah.
So that was kind of traumatic then for you.
Yeah.
Oh, so that was the last one you ever did, huh?
I haven't killed nothing, no animals since. I hate to see a deer or anything along the road.
Yeah.
I guess I'm a wimp. I don't know.
You empathize. So when you went out to get the rabbit, was it just kind of a fluke, or you said, I'm going to go out and I'm going to kill a rabbit?
Well, my uncles, they all went hunting all the time. Everybody around there went hunting. So I figured they can do it, I can do it. So I got a 16-gauge shotgun, went out and
you were by yourself?
By myself, yeah. Then I got a rabbit, and then it was sad.
Yeah, isn't that something, that it stuck with you? And how about the holidays? How were they celebrated in your family? Was there any kind of, I'm sure they...
When I was young or older?
Like now, when you were younger, I'm sure they didn't put all the decorations up at Halloween like they do nowadays.
No, it was usually just a dinner or something at my grandfather's. Nothing much was celebrated.
Okay, so it's just pretty low key.
Low key is right.
Yeah. And now, does your family hold reunions? Do you see all the...
No reunions. There's not much of that side of the family left.
Let's see.
Maybe we should, because there isn't that many left, huh?
Yeah, well, another interesting thing is most of my grandfather and uncle and aunt are down at the Messiah Lutheran Church there. It's near Barrett, down on 97. It was probably my great-grandfather that bought a plot there, and I had the actual sales slip. They bought 8 plots for $2.50.
Jeez. Oh, that's something worth keeping.
Well, 2 of them, 6 of them are full, and 2 of them filtered down to me. So I'm going to use one, and I don't know what happened to the other. But I had $2.50 for 8. It was all in one area, but 8 for 8. It was 8 plots.
Wow.
So I thought that was rather cheap. And the fact it filtered probably from my great grandfather down to me, 2 of them, was interesting too.
Yeah. Now, how about that property that you grew up on? Is that still in the family, or?
No, that was sold, but I never got down to the house, but there's been houses built up around it. They probably ruined it by now. Yeah, because there was, nothing around.
Yeah, it's just been developed. Let's see. Oh, I know. What were your neighbors like when you were growing up? They say in the old days the neighbors were much more involved.
They were good. They were good neighbors. We didn't have any too close. I guess our closest neighbor was probably a quarter mile. Overall, we had good neighbors. I don't think any of us ever locked the houses in those days.
Yeah.
Don't want to try that today.
Yeah.
But I don't know if anybody locked their homes when I was a kid.
Yeah. That's the way it was.
I had to walk quite a ways to get on the bus when I was going to Winfield, up to another neighbor's. That was probably a half a mile or more. And I walk through snow and everything to catch a bus. And
Well, that's a change from nowadays. Now
Yeah.
you see people in the cars at the end of the driveways with the kids, you know, a long driveway. So how would you, in general, say that progress has helped the county, or are you kind of miss the easygoing?
well, it's helped the county. It's industry, and it's given people the conveniences that we didn't have. You know, running water and electric and
Yeah.
all that good stuff. But
So I guess you got
as far as life, I didn't know of anything better. I really enjoyed myself when I was a kid on the 40 acres roaming.
yeah, compared to now, what kids have to deal with.
Oh, and something else. I never heard of drugs. I never heard of cocaine. Never heard of marijuana. Never heard of anything.
Even in the service
No. I'm talking about
as a kid.
as a kid. Oh, in service I heard of. Not too much though. Alcohol was there and cigarettes was there when I was, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 years old, and even older. But never heard of it. Never heard a drug mentioned. I don't know if they're around or not, but I doubt it.
Yeah.
And that's one sorry thing about today's society.
Right. Yeah, I think we can. Okay.
All right, so then,
Well, thanks again, Mr. Jenkins, for sharing your memories with us.